What is up, guys? I'm William. Welcome to this episode of William for Acupuncture. If you're new here, then hi, I'm William, a master's student in acupuncture at the Beijing University of Chinese Medicine. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and mysterious aspects of acupuncture, the elusive phenomenon known as Deqi. If you've ever experienced acupuncture or heard someone rave about it, you know that the moment when a needle isn't just a needle, but a gateway to a deeper, almost magical response from your body. Imagine lying there, perhaps a bit skeptical at first, when you suddenly feel a subtle tingle or a gentle ache, a signal that your body is waking up to the treatment, much like catching a perfect wave at the beach or sinking to your favorite song's beat. But Deqi isn't just a simple ah or it's a blend of sensation that vary from person to person, similar to our individual taste in music. Some might feel a warm buzz, while others experience a deep, resonant sensation, akin to the satisfaction drop a bass line. This isn't random, it's your body's way of saying, I'm engaged and ready to heal. Think of your body as a finely tuned orchestra, with Deqi marking the moment when every instrument starts playing in harmony. Without it, acupuncture might just feel like a random poke rather than a symphony of healing energy. Although the concept of Deqi comes from an ancient text, today it's understood as that unique personal response triggered by the needle's touch, like finally connecting to the Wi-Fi after endless buffering. Deqi signals that the treatment is activating your body's natural healing powers, guiding practitioners on how deeply or to needle and how much pressure to apply. So, as we explore the world of Deqi today, get ready to unlock a concept that is much an art as it is a science. Whether you're a seasoned acupuncture enthusiast or just curious, understanding Deqi is like living up in your wellness journey, where every little tingle tells a story and each session nudges you closer to a vibrant, balanced state. Let's unravel the secrets of this session aspect of acupuncture and share a few smiles along the way. The term Deqi is used so frequently in acupuncture that anyone who has ever studied, experienced, or even casually heard about acupuncture is bound to have encountered it. In ancient Chinese acupuncture classic, countless writings stress the vital importance of achieving Deqi, often citing memorable phrases like, when Qi arrives, it works its magic, and with the needle, achieve Deqi. With focused intention, hold on that Qi and don't let it slip away. These statements underscore the idea that a successful acupuncture treatment is all about capturing that elusive qi and then keeping it secure, much like catching the perfect wave at the beach and riding it without wiping out. But what exactly is qi? From many beginners or non-Chinese learners, qi can be so mysterious as a secret recipe handed down through generations, and its explanation is not always straightforward. In modern terms, qi is typically explained as the sensation produced by the acupuncture needle, a kind of body signal or response that might remind you of the tingles when your phone vibrates in your pocket. Because this sensation or response varies depending on an individual's unique constitution, illness, and even the specific area of the body being treated. There's no single standard that can be applied to everyone, much like trying to decide on the perfect pizza topping when everyone's tastes differ widely. Different parts of the body respond in their own unique ways. Some areas are extremely sensitive, while others can be surprisingly dull. For instance, the extremities, the tips of the fingers and toes, are among the most sensitive parts of your body. There's an old Chinese saying that the 10 fingers are connected to the heart, a poetic reminder of how even our extremities play a part in the emotional and physical symphony of life. In contrast, regions like the head, the center of the body, the middle of the back, and the deeper internal organs tend to be less reactive, much like a quiet friend at a loud party who observes from the sidelines. The classic text Jing explains this by saying yang receives qi from the 4 extremities and yin receives qi from the 5 viscera. In every language, this tells us that the more outward active parts of the body are tuned to the pick up qi more acutely, while the inner, more responsive or more reserved parts are less sensitive. Moreover, the heightened sensitivity of the limb is not by chance. These regions are where yin and yang meridians meet, a sort of energetic crossroads that the Ling described as where the yin and yang of the four extremities converge. There lies the great network of qi. This idea even extends to the junction of the ren and du meridians, which include areas such as around the lips and even near the perianal region. Spots that, despite their delicate nature, have been used in emergencies and for treating certain mental disorders, acting like a reset button to restore balance and harmony between yin and yang. Interestingly, while needling along the midline of the back, there is where the du meridians runs, and this might not produce as strong a sensation as Sebastian does. Using the worm instead of just the needle can better stimulate the vital yang energy. Now, as if our bodies weren't quirky enough already, the sensation of qi varies from person to person based on one's unique balance of yin and yang. Illness and aging can influence the function of qi and blood. Someone suffering from a chronic condition or who is in their later years might experience qi that is tender and sluggish. Imagine trying to get a cat to run a race and therefore has a duller response. Conversely, someone with a new illness or a more delicate constitution might have qi that is smoothly and easily displaced, akin to a sleek bar of soap that slips out of your hands. For instance, patients with conditions like rheumatism or diabetes often report that the needle barely registers a sensation, while children or those with nervous dispositions might feel every tiny poke as if the needle were performing a stand-up routine on their skin. This variability means that when performing acupuncture, the practitioner must skillfully assess not only the specific characteristics of the treatment area, but also the patient's overall temperament and condition. Basically, it's like tailoring a suit to fit the unique shape and style of each individual. When an acupuncture needle is inserted into the skin, it usually produces a simple, straightforward pain sensation, much like a quick pinch. But as the needle dives into the muscle layer, a warm, satisfying soreness or distension can develop, almost like the pleasant ache after an intense workout session at the gym. If the needle brushes against a blood vessel, the sensation can become sharper and more intense. If it grazes a nerve branch, a tingling or numb feeling might emerge, and if it comes into contact with the nerve trunk, the resulting sensation can be so electric it might remind you of a tiny lightning bolt zapping through your arm. All these different sensations together are what we refer to when we talk about Deqi. In classical texts, the ancient scholars describe these sensations using terms like wei qi, which called defensive qi, ying qi, which called the nutritive qi, and gu qi, which called grain qi, with gu qi being the key player. They explain that needling for wei qi yields qi, which means that the sensation from the superficial layers of the skin, the very first hello from your body, it's associated with wei qi. Since the skin itself doesn't typically convey the more nuanced feelings like soreness or numbness, that pain is seen as a reaction of the defensive qi. Techniques such as skin acupuncture, intradermal needling, ear seed embedding, or living needles subcutaneously all work on the superficial level. However, if the needle reaches the blood vessel wall and causes bleeding, that response is linked to the nutritive qi. And when the needle penetrates the muscle layer, if it doesn't hit a blood vessel, it usually produces sensations like a mix of soreness, a feeling of pressure, or a heavy, numb sensation. sometimes even radiating like a shock, and these are considered the hallmark of Gu Qi, the deeper and more sustained sensation that practitioners strive to achieve. In discussing the depth and intensity of needling, the great acupuncture master Yang Jizhou famously remarked, "Whether you are needling shallow or deep, stop if the needle startles the patient. And when performing reduction techniques, it's all about achieving that proper Gu Qi." In other words, the needle should be inserted only as far as it elicits just the right response. A gentle spark of Qi, nothing more. There's no need to overdo it and turn the session into a nerve-wracking experience. This measured approach is crucial, especially when considering the nuanced method of pushing the needle in and withdrawing the needle while lifting it slightly. So what exactly is Gu Qi? According to the Ling Shu, when pathogenic Qi or bad Qi arrives, it does so tightly and rapidly. But when Gu Qi arrives, it does so gently and harmoniously. In every language, this means that the kind of needle sensation that is smooth, sustained, and pleasant qualifies as Gu Qi, much like enjoying a leisurely waltz instead of frantic dash across the room. A sudden, jarring sensation would be considered a manifestation of pathogenic Qi, not the desired Gu Qi. This principle is especially important in techniques used for acupuncture pain relief at the distance points. The goal is to continue needling until that deep, satisfying Gu Qi is achieved, which is analogous to finding the perfect balance in your favorite song where everything just clicks into place. The Ling Shu even outlines a three-step process. First, the needle targets the skin to engage the defensive Qi. Then, it moves into the subcutaneous layer to stimulate the nutritive Qi. And finally, it penetrates deeply between the muscles to reach the Gu Qi, which both purges external pathogenic influences and secures the beneficial energy. The arrival of Gu Qi is seen as the clear signal that the treatment has produced the desired effect, whether that means or reduction for an excess. Achieving Qi is not only the goal of acupuncture, but also the very foundation upon which the entire method is built. In fact, every step of the acupuncture process revolves around the concept of Qi, even before the needle touches the skin, that the acupuncturist must work to stimulate the flow of Deqi. The classic Jing instructs that when it's time to knead, one must first press on the acupoint with the left hand and, with a burst of determined energy, trigger the Qi to move in a manner reminiscent of the pulsation of an artery. If the needle is then inserted along this same path and the Qi is successfully captured, the desired Qi is achieved, pushing the needle inward, while pulling it out while extending is termed reduction. Think of it as a pre-game warm-up before the main event. You need to get the energy flowing, much like stretching before a run or shaking a soda can. Later texts on acupuncture provide some of the most vivid and colorful descriptions of what it feels like when Qi is truly captured. For example, in Biao You Fu, the arrival of Qi is likened to fish swollen bat and then bobbing up and down, while its absence is described as being as profound and mystery as the quiet depth of a secluded hall. Imagine your body throwing a little dance party every time Qi shows up. A party complete with a bit of muscular contraction and that unmistakable, a satisfying tension that tells the acupuncture, yes, we've got it. On the other hand, if the response is weak or non-existent, if the sensation is as empty as a radio playing on low battery, the practitioner might only feel a loose, slack response. The 医学入门 put it in this way. When the area under the needle feels heavy and tight, Qi has arrived. If the patient feels pain, it indicates excess. If they feel soreness, it indicates deficiency. And if the sensation is light, floating, or weak, then Qi has yet to make its debut. In cases of lower motor neuron paralysis, acupuncture may produce a feeling of sensation without a corresponding muscular response. While in upper motor neuron paralysis, the patient might have absent, vague, or even chaotic sensation along the involuntary muscle reactions. In such instance, the practitioner might describe the phenomenon as having no direct sensation but some indirect response. Thus, interpreting Deqi solely as the needle's direct sensation is too narrow a view. It must encompass both the sensory experience and the resulting reaction. Ancient explanations of the acupuncture response never separated the concept of qi from its different forms, namely wei qi, ying qi, and gu qi, with a primary emphasis on wei qi, which acts as the body's first line of the defensive, much like security guard at a club who keeps a riff-raff out. The Su Wen tells us that if the nourishing qi is lacking, there will be no tenderness. If the defensive qi is deficient, it is useless. And if both are absent, there will be neither tenderness nor function. In the Tai Su, this idea is elaborated even more dramatically. If defensive qi is deficient, there is no tenderness. If both nutritive and the defensive qi are deficient, there is neither tenderness nor function, and the flesh becomes as harsh as overcooked meat. Yang Shangshan further comments that if the nutritive qi is low but defensive qi is strong, the patient can still feel. If the nutritive qi is high but defensive qi is low, the flesh loses sensitivity. And if both are deficient, the loss of sensitivity is severe, leaving the flesh as unresponsive as if it were overcooked and dry. He even goes on to explain that if the spirit does not reach the skin, then the skin cannot feel the pain or even a slight itch. This state is what is referred to as insensitivity. It is clear then that achieving qi is not only the goal of acupuncture, but also its very foundation. The entire process of acupuncture, whether for tonification or reduction, depends on this vital energy. For example, even before a needle is inserted, the acupuncturist must take steps to encourage the qi to flow. The Jing instructs that when it is time to knead, one must first press the acupoint with the left hand and with a spirited burst, invoke the qi to move in a manner similar to the position of an artery. If the needle is then inserted flowing the natural course of the qi, and if the qi is successfully captured, then by pushing the needle inward, one achieves notification. And by pulling it out while extending, one achieves reduction. This is akin to giving your body a little pep talk before a big performance. It's all about setting the stage so that the energy can flow freely. In later acupuncture writings, there are some of the most colorful descriptions of what it feels like when qi truly arrives. Dou Hanqing's Biao You Fu, for instance, vividly compares the arrival of qi to a fish swallowing a bat and then bobbing up and down. While its absence is likened to the deep, mysterious stillness of a quiet hidden hall. Imagine your body hosting a little underworld ballet every time qi shows up, complete with a gentle rise and fall that signals everything is sync. Whereas when qi missing, it's as if your body stage is set in an empty theater with nothing but echoes. When the patient undergoes acupuncture, they might experience sensations like soreness or a gentle distension that prompts a muscular reaction. And it is all this at this moment, that acupuncturist's hand and the needle will sense a firm, steady grip that indicates the qi is in place. However, if the needle is inserted and no such reaction is felt, the practitioner may only sense a slack, empty feeling, much like a difference between a well-tuned guitar and one with loosened strings. The 医学入门 explains this in a manner that might remind you of ordering a cafe. If the area under the needle feels heavy and tight, the qi has arrived. If the patient feels pain and it indicates an excess, it's just like too much espresso. And if they feel soreness, it suggests a deficiency. But if the sensation is light, floating, or feeble, then the qi is still fashionable, late to the party. This description, largely based on the tactile feedback experienced by the practitioner, is a practical guide to assessing whether the treatment has hit the right note, much like a DJ gauging the mood of the dance floor. It is important to note, however, that while the patient's direct sensation at the needle site is an immediate experience, the practitioner's perception is indirect, based on the feedback transmitted through the needle. In some medical conditions, even if the patient experiences sensations such as soreness, distension, heaviness, or numbness, there might not be a corresponding reaction felt by the practitioner. For example, in cases of poliomyelitis, although the patient may feel the needle's touch, the corresponding muscular reaction may be absent, resulting in what is known as flaccid paralysis, a situation where the acupuncturist can only feel slack, empty sensation, which does not qualify as achieving qi. This occurs because poliomyelitis damages the anterior horn model neurons while leaving the posterior horn sensor neurons intact, meaning that while the patient can still feel, their muscles do not respond. Ancient scholars, when explaining the phenomenon of the acupuncture response, never separated the concept of qi from its various forms, wei qi, ying qi, and gu qi, with a particular emphasis on wei qi as the protective, defensive energy that responds to the external stimuli. The Su Wen tells us in a manner that might sound almost like a weather forecast for your body. If the nourishing qi is lacking, there will be no tenderness. If the defensive qi is absent, it is useless. And if both are missing, there will be neither tenderness nor proper function. In the Tai Su, this notion is dramatized further. If defensive qi is deficient, there is no tenderness. If both nutritive and defensive qi are absent, then there is neither tenderness nor functionality. And the flesh becomes as unresponsive as overcooked, dry meat. Yang Shangshan elaborates this by saying, if the nutritive qi is low but the defensive qi is strong, the patient will still feel. If the nutritive qi is high but the defensive qi is weak, the flesh will not feel. And if both are deficient, the resulting insensitivity is so severe that the flesh is as harsh as something unpalatably dry. He even explains that if the spirit does not reach the skin, then the skin cannot register pain or even a slightly itch. This state is what is referred to as insensitivity, according to Yang's commentary on the Tai Su, because defensive qi governs both sensation and the movement. A deficiency in defensive qi results in a lack of responsiveness. And when both nutritive and defensive qi are absent, the loss of sensitivity becomes even more pronounced, leaving the flesh deprived of its natural nourishment from blood and qi. Although gu qi is discussed mainly in the context of needling techniques, one might consider that gu qi operates in the deeper intermuscular layers, while wei qi is distributed more superficially. Nevertheless, both play roles in eliciting the desired sensory response. Since most acupoints are found in these intermuscular regions, the qi that is captured through needling is naturally centered on gu qi, which is deeper, more sustained sensation that signals the treatment's effectiveness. Thus, achieving qi is not only the purpose of acupuncture, but also its very foundation, with every aspect of the tonification and reduction techniques revolving around this essential energy. Even before the needle ever touches the skin, the acupuncturist must work to stimulate the qi to flow, much like getting a car engine started on a chilly morning. The Jing instructs that when it is time to knead, one must first press the acupoint with the left hand and with a determined burst of energy. Imagine giving it a spirited tap, encouraging the qi to move in a manner resembling the position of an artery. If the needle is then inserted, flowing the natural course of the qi, and if the qi is captured, Then, by pushing the needle inward, one achieves what is called tonification, whereas pulling it out while extending is known as reduction. This is analogous to priming a pump before water flows freely, or giving your body a gentle pep talk before it gets into fully swing. Moreover, even before the Nanjing was written, the Ling stressed that the practitioner must concentrate all their energy on the needle, unify your spirit, and focus solely on the needle, so that both the patient's spirit and qi are mobilized in the concert. The technique must be executed with both resolute strength and cautious finesse. Firmly resist so that the needle does not slip out, and cautiously hold it in place to ensure it does not plunge too deep. This is what is meant by achieving qi. In one memorable commentary from the Tai Su, Yang Shangshan advises, when needling in males or draw internal qi, one should firmly resist so that the qi does not escape. When needling in females to draw external qi, one must cautiously maintain the needle so as not to let the qi go too deep. This is not unlike the delicate balancing act of dance, when you need to keep in step without stepping on your partner's tools, ensuring that everything remains in perfect harmony. In summary, the concept of Deqi in acupuncture is as intricate as it's vital, weaving together ancient wisdom with practical techniques that even today continue to inform the art of healing. The ancient texts illustrate that obtaining qi is not merely about eliciting a feeling sensation, but involves achieving a harmonious interplay between the patient's bodily responses and the acupuncturist's technique. Whether it is light, almost playful sensation felt in the skin when the needle first makes contact, or the deeper, more sustained response that signals gu qi has been reached, every nuance its sensation to the overall success of the treatment. As its text reminds us in vivid detail, comparing the arrival of qi to the gentle bopping of a flash swirling bat, or the profound silence of a secluded hall, acupuncture is a dance between the art of touch and the science of energy, where each patient's unique constitution requires a tailored approach, much like customizing a playlist to suit one's mood on a sunny day. So, the next time you find yourself on the acupuncture table, remember that you are not just receiving a treatment, you are participating in a centuries-old ritual where ancient wisdom meets modern technique. A ritual that, when done right, can leave you feeling as happy and light as if you had just shared a good laugh with an old friend on a bright, sunny day. Alright, here is your quick takeaway. The magic of Deqi isn't just about a pinch or tingle. It's your body's way of gearing up for healing. So next time you are on the acupuncture table or bed, tuned into that unique buzz or gentle ache, because that's your energy saying, I'm here and ready to work. Alright, thanks for joining this episode of William for Acupuncture. If you enjoyed our deep diving into the art and science of Deqi, hit the subscribe, smash that like button, and share the video with friends who crave a little extra balance. I can't wait to share more fun, science-backed insights next time. Stay balanced and keep that energy flowing.